What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Tank Rise show presented by Bet Online. The Blazers today to successfully tank yet again. They don't score many points. The Kings score a lot of points, and the Kings clinch the playoffs, so congratulations to them. I finally fixed the thumbnail. Eric was wondering why I had Herm Edwards in the thumbnail. I mixed up two famous rants, but yes, playoffs for the Sacramento Kings. They break their playoffs. They break their playoff streak. So congrats to them. Kings. Round of applause.
I didn't think they would do it this year, so congrats to them. I apologize for doubting the Kings this year. They have proven me wrong.
Yep. I'll raise a toast with my pink lemonade that I just bought. Congrats to them. That's two franchises breaking playoff streaks. It was my Seattle Mariners. Now it's the Sacramento Kings. They had the longest playoff drought in the professional force sports. So now who is that, Eric? Who's next up in line for that drought?
I don't know.
We had the California drought end meteorologically. I don't think that's a word. We had the Kings drought end. We had the Mariners drought end. Lots of droughts ending. You love to see it. It might be the Jets, but the Jets next year could be pretty cold. So, thank you, Jakob, for the dono. I'll read it off after I read off our sponsor for today's postgame stream, which is Bet Online, of course. Use that promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus. Baseball starts tomorrow, so if you're tired of the basketball you've been seeing, you can get in on the action with some baseball with that promo code BLEAV for a 50% reward bonus. Use Bet Online, because that's where the game starts. As far as this game goes, the Blazers were actually in it halfway through it, and then they got outscored 70-34 in the second half. It was brutal. Shaedon Sharpe, it was funny because they couldn't score in the second half, and that's when Shaedon Sharpe actually kind of woke up offensively. He started 2 for 10 from the field, finished 10 for 27, meaning he finished, 8 for 17 after starting 2 for 10? So, good finish to the game. He did better in the second half last game against the Pelicans. Not an efficient night, but he has 7 assists, 7 rebounds to go with a career-high 30 points. You know, statistically, it looks very nice. Overall, this was just an ugly game in general. Any takeaways from this game? From you, Eric Brandt?
Not really. I did like that Shaedon played point guard and had 7 assists. That was good to see. Probably should have had more, but a lot of people missed open shots. I didn't like the offense though. Like what were we doing on offense? There's like a lot of standing around, one-on-one, not doing much.
Half of our sets are just in a away screen, and that guy comes and gets the ball, and then we're in freelance.
Yeah, but this is the main takeaway for me. So off the bench, John Butler, 6 shots, 3 points. Sharpe, 27 shots for 30 points, which is, that's CJ-esque, I guess. But Thybulle, 6 shots, 8 points. That's pretty good. Nas, absolutely brutal. 17 shots, 10 points, 0 for 8 from 3. So he almost missed more 3-pointers than he scored points in this game.
He's getting enough 3-point shots now, Eric, in the rest of this tank that instead of having 5 games of slump, maybe it'll be a game-to-game thing. Because instead of 0 for 8 over 5 games like he would normally go, he could do it in 1.
Yeah. All right, and then to continue this, Knox, who got off to a pretty good start in this one, at least offensively, 16 shots, 12 points. And then Drew Eubanks, 12 field goal attempts, 5 points. Can't really... we took 93 shots and scored 80 points.
Eubanks was fun tonight, man. He was fun because he was comical. Yeah. So, Sharpe had the most efficient night, is what you're saying. By going 10 for 27.
Well, I think six shots for 8 points from Thybulle was the most efficient.
Yeah.
Jabari had 9 shots, 12 points, so there you go.
I mean, I know...
That's 1.25 or 1.33 points per shot, yeah.
Yeah, I know we're playing the end of our roster and, only 7 guys in this game because we only had 7 guys that could play, and, I get all that, man, but... And they were competitive the first half. But, man, the Blazers are so good at tanking. They are better at tanking than any other team. When the Blazers decide to tank, they are better at that than any other team. And you have to wonder why. And a game like this just makes, I don't know, man, like, the guys at the end of our roster, are they really that much worse than any team in the league? Because otherwise, how are we so good at tanking?
Well, we have no ball handling out there.
Yeah, that's part of it.
No
but
one
it's
to
like
set up the offense.
I mean, but it's like Sacramento doesn't play defense. You know, and Nasir Little, we had arguments whether he should be a starter, sixth man at the start of the season. He's a minus 42. Obviously, you can't look at the plus minus too much, but he's 4 for 17 without an assist.
Is so ridiculous.
He has no assists, only 2 rebounds in 40 minutes.
4 turnovers.
4 turnovers, and is 4 for 17 and 0 for 8 from 3. Like, if you're a guy who should be discussed in terms of, like, should he start for a team that's hoping to be good, there is no way you have that type of performance. Like, it's just, I'm not complaining. This isn't a complaint. But the guys at the end of our roster are just, they don't cut it. Knox doesn't cut it. He's never really cut it in New York. He was okay in spot minutes in Detroit, but they suck. Like, he doesn't cut it. Nas will have a great game, right? And then, where's that went? Where is that gone? Looked like 2 completely different players. Well, the player that scored 28 and the player we saw tonight, 2 completely different players.
I've been saying this all year, but Ishfluent says it in chat. Nas' jump shot is absolutely terrible. It changes every game. He is never, like, in control anymore. He's just, like, flailing his whole body.
Was he ever in control, though?
Yeah, there was a point earlier in the season where he would catch the ball, square up, and go straight up and down. Now his legs kick way out. He does this little hitch before he shoots, like almost like a double pump, and he just kind of like Aminu style launches the ball at the hoop instead of like shoot it.
Do you want a theory?
Sure.
You remember how he shot his rookie season?
Yeah.
Where he had that massive like elbow hitch and his elbow was super far in.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's like he has to still try not to shoot that way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's not 1,000%. I mean, it should be because he should have put in the reps, but it's like, this isn't the same jumper he started his career with. Mm-hmm. He holds the ball out so far in front of his face. That's probably part of the reason he gets so off balance. Like, the ball is really far in front of his face at his set point. His shoulder seems jutted forward. Like, his form is better than it was his rookie year. At least it, like, looks better. But he had a couple misses that were just, like, very short. And I think it was because the ball was so far out in front of his face, he couldn't, like, actually get his elbow up and through it. You know what I mean? Like, try shooting the ball with arc with your set point here and just shooting it forward. It's impossible. Because if you shoot it up, it's just falling out of your hand.
Mm.
And he had some misses like that. And I have to wonder if, like, some of the way he, like, leans back is in order to try and get his elbow under the ball.
Maybe.
That's my theory. As, you know, a 2.2 college score, that is my theory.
It just seems like it's not replicable. Like, every time he's just, like, his body's so out of control and so not fluid that it just seems like it's, I don't know. He's, like, causing himself to miss before he even shoots the ball, if that makes sense.
Yep. Shout out to Ole Jakob with a 50 Norwegian Krone Dono says, today marks a great day in Blazer history. Earlier this season, the Cavaliers scored 81 points in a game. Today, the Blazers achieved a new season low. Woohoo! Thank you, Jakob, for a 50 Norwegian Krone. Is that really a season low for a team in the NBA this year?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because with how
the scoring
much the offensive
the
explosions have been this year, that sounds right.
Yep, 80 is a new low. Yeah,
or a little is the new low. I like that.
Yeah, a little.
Kings a lot, Blazers a little.
Yeah, I had to pull that out. You know, I pull that out like once a season. This was the perfect game for it.
Yeah.
Should have just made it overlap the graphic because at this point, who cares? But yeah, 80 points for your Portland Trail Blazers. Disgusting. Thank you, Jakob, for the dono. But yeah, that's like that's my theory on Nas. When he doesn't hold it so far out from his face, it feels like everything's more fluid. Like he's able to shoot it as more of a one motion shot. He doesn't, I don't know, like it just looks cleaner. And he was missing a couple shots short because it just seemed like the ball was so out front of his face. I mean, the adjustment would be to lean back in order to get your elbow under the ball. Because you can't shoot a ball at the set point if at the set point your hand's in front of your elbow.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't make sense. So his form still needs work. And that's why I don't know, like even when he was knocking down shots, it still seemed like there was a lot of tension, but it was better than how it looked tonight, of course. Yeah. But that's the thing is like it's hard. I mean, look at all the best shooters in the league, how effortless they shoot the ball. He does not shoot the ball effortless. Even when he's making shots, he doesn't shoot it effortless. It still seems like he has a lot of tension in his shot. And that's why I always said he has to prove that he can consistently shoot the ball, because I don't trust that he can consistently shoot the ball. He might be able to go for a week where, like, even with all that tension, he's still, like, just completely dialed in and just throwing darts at the back of the rim and they're dropping, right? But with all that tension comes inconsistency because you have a lot of forces at work that, you know, might be countering each other, and it's tough to replicate because that's the key. You just want to replicate the same shot every time. The more tension you have in your shot, the harder it is to repeat. Because if you have a little bit more tension one time, a little bit less, like that's just a variable in your shot that'll make it inconsistent. You don't want the amount of tension that Nasir Little has in his jump shot. So, you know, his form looks better for the most part, but it's still not good. It looked better than rookie year, still not good.
Got to relieve that tension. Yeah.
Relieve that tension, baby. Shout out to Racity Brady. Gifted 1 Blazer Uprise membership. Thank you, Brady, for gifting a Blazer Uprise membership. I think you're the second person in history to gift a Blazer Uprise membership. Thank you.
Did you see who it went to?
Who did it go to?
Trevin.
Why did it go to Trevin?
I don't know.
Cool. Well, I mean, we get the membership money from it. I don't know. I don't even know how all that works, but thank you, Brady, for gifting Trevin a membership. That's funny. Yeah. Huh. Oh, wait, does it randomly hand it out, Brady? Did you choose Trevin, or did it randomly hand it to somebody in chat?
I think it randomly goes to just someone who's participated in chat so far.
It just randomly goes to our mod?
Yeah.
Is there a way I can re-roll? I should be able to... Wow, okay, well, congrats.
Well, now Trevin can use emojis. I can't use emojis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wish... Can I set...
You're a new member, Trevin.
Yeah, you see that thing next to your name, Trevin? Congrats. Awesome. Yeah, now you can use the Blazer tank emoji, which we have for channel members. If you want to spam this emoji at us, then become a channel member. Hit the join button below. The beautiful Blazer tank. Anyway. Yeah, Nas' performance tonight, man. I just... Can you count? Do you want him as part of the 9-man rotation going into next year if this team is trying to win?
You know I like Nas, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think both for Nas' sake, I think maybe change of scenery will be do him wonders, and I think we're gonna need to use this contract anyway for a trade. So yeah, I wish him the best, and I mean I wouldn't be mad if he's still on the team, but I don't think we can count on him, like unless he proves something next season to be part of that rotation. But yeah,
I don't think he's a rotation player in the league. He's still young, of course, but it's the truth. Like, it's the truth.
Yeah,
he'll have he has good enough flashes that he'll stay in the league, but man, he was supposed to when he was drafted, he was supposed to be a guy that would become like a lockdown on-ball defender or close to it. Mm-hmm. Like, if he was doing this, but like was providing great defense, okay, you kind of let it slide. I mean, look at Matisse Thybulle, right?
Yeah.
But he hasn't developed that, man, and offensively it's rough for him. So, it was fun seeing him drop 28, and I was sitting there like, okay, hopefully, with a consistent chance the rest of the season, he can maybe consistently put a stretch of games together. I mean, I should have known better to raise that hypothetical, though, because he has never consistently put anything together. And some of it isn't necessarily his fault. He's had injuries that have probably hurt him, but, man, it's tough. It's tough.
Well, he falls awkwardly on a three-point shot tonight and was holding his elbow the next couple minutes, so he's probably hurt again and going to miss the rest of the season anyway.
I mean, yeah, it just sucks. Because our first stream ever was when we drafted him, too, so it's like I always wanted that to be... We were super excited, man, because he was a high... he was a guy that was regarded really highly in high school, and... Yeah, I mean, watch. Next game, he's going to come out and score 28, and we'll be, people will be talking about him as the backup 3 next year. It's just, it's tough, and this is a perfect example as to, let young players prove it. Don't get too high, because then I feel like it's more disappointing. There
was a play where I forgot who the Kings player was, but he was guarding someone, and there was a screen, and Nas just. Like, he didn't even get screened. He just, like dipped below the screen and then stood there while his guy just waited for the traffic to clear out and then was wide open for a three. Yeah. He went from guarding ball to, like, stepping 5 feet back and giving him an open three. Like, get it, man.
Nobody was playing defense in this game. Though. Yeah, Did you see see the way that Matisse Thybulle was playing defense?
Yeah.
That dude jumped on a million pump fakes on closeouts, tried to back tap like 3 times and failed. Like, he was literally just like chasing steals and blocks to an extreme that you didn't even see from Rocco. And I get it. It's like they're tanking. This game doesn't matter. So it was kind of just like he didn't care. He was just going to try and like tip the ball so they could run or, block the shot and didn't care about recovering. But man, it's just kind of scary. It's like we suck on defense. We bring in this guy who's been all defensive team. And me and you at the time were saying, he's a little overrated defensively. He's not quite that level, but he's still a good defender. It's a little... I get it because it's tanking, so I don't truly mean this, but it is a little worrying when you bring in a guy of that defensive caliber and then watch him play defense like that. It's like, man, we can infect anyone with bad defense here in Portland.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he is a guy who has chased. That's why I thought his defense was a little overrated when we traded for him. But, hopefully he doesn't do that crap if he's on the team next year. He can chase all he wants right now. I don't care.
Yeah.
You could pad your stats now so you don't have to chase next year.
Yeah, exactly. Get those averages up or whatever. But the thing is when you're chasing blocks and steals, sometimes I feel like it's harder to get blocks and steals than if you're just playing like within the flow of what you're supposed to do on defense.
Well, he's kind of known in terms of blocks by like those closeouts, like swatting 3-point shots. And so, yeah. He definitely. Like,
what's the chance you even get the ball back in those scenarios?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like the upside isn't even that high.
Right.
It's like they have on average like a 64% chance of missing anyway. Okay, if you block it, they get the ball back, and then like if they don't shoot the ball and pump fake, you're completely beat, and then your defense is kind of screwed. So it's like it's a high risk, low reward play. I never like guys that chase blocking 3-point shots on closeouts. Like, you still want to contest the shot, but you want to be controlled. You want to try and bother them on their shot, make them miss. A lot, like guys in the NBA, you're not going to block their 3-point shots often. Like maybe 1 out of 10 times, 1 out of 20 times. These are NBA players. They know when they have enough space to get a shot off, and they know when they don't. And they're really good at pump faking, driving, or just relocating along the 3-point line. So I hate that play. I hate that type of play. I don't care in a game like this, but man, that's why I wasn't super enamored, because that had been the rumors, like he plays defense like this, and this is what we've seen for the most part.
We talked about this after like the first week or so he was here. If he would just like resign himself to just playing solid defense and not going for those, I think he would be an elite defender. Like, I mean, he's already a really good defender, but like I think he would be like a really good defender and something that we need. But instead of just working on staying in front, like you said, he gambles and goes for steals and blocks and stuff, and it puts him out of position. And it's always kind of frustrating.
Yeah, and we heard, you guys just want to be negative. He was all NBA defense. This is the type of guy we need. Like, we were repeating what Philly fans were saying, so, people that watched him for 4 years. I just want, you need solid defenders on this team. You need solid defenders on this team. If you have a bunch of solid defenders, a guy who gambles is a lot easier to deal with, or it could be a good thing, because you have the pieces to back him up. But when you don't have enough defenders and a guy like a Matisse Thybulle is looked at to be that guy defensively to kind of hold the defense together, he can't be gambling. So, tanking game, but we saw it earlier in the season, right after he got here, when the Blazers were still hypothetically trying to win games. Who knows how much the front office did, but they were still putting Dame out there and Grant, Nurk. So even in those games, it was a bit of a problem. It was just kind of he was really extreme in that today. Was really going after blocking threes and back taps and all sorts of stuff. I kind of found it funny. But 2 for 4 from 3, I like that he knocked down that 3 off the dime that Sharpe had to him, because that was an absolute dime. The cross-court one-handed pass from Sharpe to Thybulle in the corner led him to the corner, to the open, away from the defender above him. You know what pass I'm talking about, Eric?
Yeah.
That pass was the most impressive pass I've ever seen Sharpe throw.
Mm-hmm.
And that I love that pass, man. Let's talk about Sharpe, because we talked a little bit about him, but not a ton. 7 assists today. He's starting to see the floor. He's starting to make reads.
Is he our best lob thrower and lob catcher? Should he just throw lobs
all
to
around?
himself?
Yeah, at this point, he should just throw lobs off the backboard.
Yeah, exactly.
But
he should get assists for it too.
I mean, because the knock on him coming to the league was like he has tunnel vision. He doesn't make the right pass. He
was earlier in the season.
And he was that, yeah. But that's the thing is at 19, you would expect that, He's not seeing... The game is so fast for him that he's not processing it quick enough. You're starting to see him process a little bit. And he still has massive struggles that we can talk about in a second. But it's just fun to see him being able to process the NBA floor. And maybe it doesn't happen against a really good defense, which the Kings aren't. But even against bad defenses, he wasn't processing, secondary reads at all. He wasn't processing the right kick-out pass. Now he's starting to make the right reads and process the game. And it's fun to watch because that's part of the evolution, hopefully, to come for him. He had 6 assists and 1 turnover at some point. He ended with 7 assists, 3 turnovers, but still, he's been kind of turnover-plagued this year, had some bad turnovers. He'll still occasionally have a bad turnover, but 7 assists, 3 turnovers. I mean, the shot inside the arc wasn't really there today, but that's obviously an area he needs to improve. We've talked about that. I like that the passing was there, and I liked seeing him throw some of the passes that he made today.
Yeah, his shot, for the most part, outside the third quarter, was just way off. He airballs one. He was barely hit the front rim on several other ones.
He forced some insanely tough threes, though.
Yeah.
And finished 6 for 13 from 3.
Yeah. I'm impressed. That cross-court pass to the 3 that you mentioned, and just I don't think he's throwing those lobs or that pass at any other point in the season. I think that's kind of showing his development a little bit. So, it's just nice to see. A game where he struggled mightily for a good portion of it, he still ends with 37-7. And I know it's just kind of stat padding in this case, but it's some of the things are very promising. So yeah, I wish he would have scored more, taken 27 shots, but it's a lot better this game than seeing him get completely taken out of the offense like last game and not getting the ball or shooting at all.
Yep. Absolutely. Pineapples wants to know if you saw what he DM'd you.
Yes.
I have no idea what it is. And then, do you want to read this Cranny Mac $2 dono?
No, you got that one.
Okay, Cranny Mac with the $2 dono says, Shaedon Brandt was relieving that tension tonight with a kiss emoji. Thank you, Cranny Mac, for the $2 dono. Very sus, though.
Shade's my dad, yep.
Shout out to Dennis Fan. What's up, Dennis? Been a minute. With the $2 dono, he says, Nas need to stroke that thing. Thank you, Dennis, for the $2 dono. Yeah, stroke that thing. Thank you for a couple of sus donos. Anyway. Anything else on Sharpe that you want to talk about? Because obviously, like, that's the main topic for every game the rest of the season right now.
Yeah, I'm glad Chauncey let him play as many minutes as he did. But yeah, maybe use a little bit better shot quality. And can we run some freaking plays? Can we just run a set or something? Like, I got so jealous. We talked about Mike Brown for a couple of years before he signed with Sacramento being the one retread that we'd be happy with or whatever as a coach. And just the way he coaches, I love. I like his style. Their offense is ridiculous. The spacing and the movement, the cuts, the different wrinkles they have off of it. Oh, like how many times was Herder just magically like wide open somewhere in the paint and it was an easy dump pass and then he could either shoot it or kick out to a wide open shooter or whatever. Just really impressed with them tonight. And even though they only scored 20 in the first quarter or whatever it was, they still got a ton of open shots generated. They just missed a bunch of threes in that first quarter. So I really like Mike Brown's coaching style. And it just makes Chauncey stand out so bad in a negative way. Because we're literally just walking the ball up the court and had no idea people were just standing around. And then it was like, okay, I'll go 1-on-1. I'll do this. I'll do that. And that was it.
Yeah. Yep. Shout out to Rip City Brady with the $2 dono. He says, sus donos with 7 greater than signs and 3 splash emojis. Thank you, Brady, for the $2 dono.
A lot of relieving of tension tonight, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully this post-game stream is soothing you. That silence was very fitting. I'm just going to try and make it awkward all stream. Let's see if I can make Eric speechless today. I knew Zach would clip that. I would have been disappointed if he didn't. And shout out to Brady with another $2 dono. Says, if we get Wemby, it's all worth it. Speaking of Wemby and getting Wemby...
Chris Fraley says our happy ending is the number 1 pick.
Yep. Wet me for Wemby. Let's go. Tankathon. There it is. I made Eric speechless. Perfect. We're tied for 5th with Orlando. 32-44. Lost 4 straight. 9 of our last 10. Orlando is 500 in their last 10. Orlando next plays on
Friday with us. And
Friday,
they play the Wizards.
They play the Wizards, so they can win that game. Yep.
Let's go Magic.
Yep, because Wizards have 2 more wins than us. I don't think we're winning 2 games the rest of the season. I don't think we have to worry about Washington anymore.
No, we cannot catch Charlotte. Come on, people.
Yeah, so Blazers have 6 games left. They can win 38 games. Hornets have 5 games left. They can win 31.
And Charlotte's not going to go 5-0.
Yeah, so... Yeah, it's literally mathematically impossible. Okay?
Uke has asked if we can catch Detroit.
Stop trolling. Anyway. No, we do 82 minus losses equals the most wins they can get. Okay, so 82 minus 60 means the most wins Detroit could get is 22. 82 minus 51 I know 70% of you aren't strong with math, but 82 minus 51 is 31. So that's the most wins they can get. Anything else to add to the tank picture?
Not the tank picture.
Why'd you say it like there's something else?
I don't want to ruin this Tankathon, Sam. I'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay, that sounds ominous. Let's hope we get something good, and then we'll get something bad, okay? We need good news with the bad. 40% chance of top 4. Let's simulate this thing. Scroll up like we normally do. Toronto, New Orleans, OKC, New York via Dallas. That's the best that pick could possibly be for New York. It's protected 1 to 10. Orlando gets 10th as the Bulls move down, which means who moved up?
No, it's not.
I forgot who was 10.
That
Utah?
Utah.
I think it's Utah.
Yeah.
At 9 is Washington. It is Utah. So Utah, they get their Gobert replacement in the better version of Gobert. Potentially. We'll see. At 8. Orlando, again, which means the Pacers have moved up. So if this played out this way, it would be bad news because it's 2 of the top 4 spots so far.
And we're most likely 7th.
We are most likely 7th. At 7, Portland. We moved down 2 spots, get the same pick as last year. Top 4, Detroit, Utah, Indiana, and San Antonio. So, bad Tankathon. Bad Tankathon. Get it off my screen. Okay, what's the other bad news?
Oh, it's not bad news. I'm so sick of this. Okay, I already had to ban someone earlier in the stream. Okay, first of all, quit playing the frickin' victim after you call everyone's IQ out. But this Colin guy in chat basically says Dame sucks. He never wins. He's already packed his bags. He moved his Formula Zero camp to Phoenix. He's for sure gone. And you have 0 IQ in basketball if you don't listen to me.
You remember when I pointed that out? Everyone who talks about Dame leaving or being traded is always so insanely aggressive about it.
Now you're going to say I changed in your words, even though you've had like 15 posts about the same freaking thing. So whatever. Yeah. See, and then we're the liars, you're the victim, even though you called every single person in chat out, dude. You're just pathetic, man. You guys
he said at Murray, he tagged Murray, our guy Murray, and said, disagree with you, bro. You are showing your lack of basketball IQ. So you're insulting Murray's IQ.
Earlier in the stream, he had a post that was like, Lillard has not won anything in 10 years. He needs to go, and his defense is horrid. And if you disagree, like, you're just showing your lack of basketball IQ. But yeah, somehow I'm making up what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's the people that come in and they talk like that, and then they play the victim if you read out their words or you call it out.
I'm sorry, Colin, but dude, you come in here acting like a complete jerk, and then you blame us for not allowing other opinions instead of just, hey, I feel like we should trade Dame. I think it's best for this thing. It's not that. That's not what you're doing. That's a respectful opinion. I don't agree with that, but that's a respectful opinion. Don't come in here and try to, like, the first thing you said is, I'm going to get banned for this, but Dame sucks, and let's trade him. He's already moved half his stuff out of Portland, and my sources say this, and you guys are all stupid. Like, that's just dumb. Like, come on, dude. Like, have some freaking respect for other people before you demand respect yourself.
If you're talking about his basketball IQ being low, that's not respectful, bro. Like, all these freaking bombs, man. I'll be as disrespectful as I want to you right now because you people just come in here, act like jerks, and then play the victim and wonder why. Or it's just literally a ruse to try and get attention. Like, I don't know. Like, what are you getting out of this, bro? What are you getting at this? Because you come in, act like the angstiest MFer, because I don't cuss. I don't even cuss on YouTube. I should. You act like the angstiest dude in the world, right? You're super angsty, ranting about how Dame this, Dame that, calling people's IQ out.
He gave us bad voodoo for the Tankathon.
Gave us bad voodoo for the, yeah. Anyway, like, you freaking bums, man. Like, God, dude. If you want Dame traded or thinks Dame's leaving, voice the opinion. Don't be an asshole. If you don't know how you were being an asshole, then you have zero self-awareness, and you should work on that, bro. Like, this dude says, don't make things up, guys. I've dealt with 100 of you. Shoot, I've probably dealt with 1,000 of you. Who knows how many versions of that was actually you, because I'm sure it was probably like you and a few burners.
Like 15 of them.
Yeah, so like 15 out of the 1,000 times I've dealt with somebody under some name coming here acting like this. It's always the same way. It's always the same way. I can literally predict what you say. I don't even need to read your stuff verbatim. How am I messing up what you say when I can predict? Now I can predict what you say. I literally read off your comment, you freaking moron. I read off your comment. And you say I'm making things up. You just get out of here, bro. Just get out of here.
And for the record, Formula Zero, the latest one was held in Phoenix because that's where Phil Beckner has his gym and runs his camps from. That was all.
Yeah, who gives a fuck, dude? Get out of here. God. This dude says loser talk. Dude, that's everything you're, like, just, Either people lack they have zero self-awareness, or they're just trying to troll and piss people off. Either way, that's loser stuff. Either get some self-awareness,
anyway.
Or stop being, like, bro, just... It's just stupid. I'm over it, man. I'm over it. It's the same way. When was the last time somebody came in here and say they think Dame should be traded without being over-the-top aggressive about it?
It's never happened.
The only time it's maybe happened is Gray, and Gray's our guy. And, you know...
I don't think if he necessarily wants to trade Dame, he just thinks Dame is kind of a ball hog.
I mean, bro, if you start insulting people's IQs and then want to play the victim, you have zero self-awareness. But no, you know what it is people that want us to call them out so they can sit there and say exactly what they always say. Right. They don't allow other opinions. I'm sitting here calling out other people's IQs, which goes completely against the rule in chat that you can actually see now as a chat member that says don't attack people, don't insult people, right? I'm breaking that rule, but I'm just going to say that once they get a response I want, that it's actually them and they're actually just, you know, they don't like my opinion and that's why I'm banned. It's not that I'm breaking a rule.
The very first post I saw, I can't even go up to it. It was early in the stream. It was basically Dame hasn't won in 10 years, and if you don't think he should be traded, then you don't know basketball or something like that. It's like that's how they all do it.
And then they pretend they didn't say it. Yep. Right. And then they pretend, that they didn't say it. It's just sad. It's just like, what do y'all get out of it, man? Ishua says, I hate these trolls that ruin the community for everyone else, SMH. I mean, it's kind of entertaining. Like, it's annoying, but it's also entertaining to me. It's kind of comedic, you know? Gives us something to be mad at, because we're not going to be mad at the team right now. We're past that.
So, when I watched that Suns Geek stream with Romp and stuff, like, before I could type in chat, it, like, popped something up that I had to agree to. Like, I wonder if we could do that for...
Well, I think it might. I think it's just everybody's typed in chat before. I'm not sure.
Is it just the first time in chat?
I don't know.
Maybe I'd never typed in chat on a Suns Geek stream, maybe.
Who knows?
But yeah, it'd be cool. Just like if you're gonna recommend trading Dame, please do it in a respectful way where you don't
but, like,
call
the thing
everyone.
is, like, we shouldn't have to even explain that. If you come in and, like, act like a jerk and call out people's IQs and say people don't know basketball, and then the second you get any sort of the same energy, you throw a fit and act like the victim, then you don't belong in this community. You don't belong here then, you know? Because you don't know how to behave online, apparently. So, in that case, if people act like that, a rule in chat that they have to agree to isn't going to change that, Eric, because they're just so far gone.
But then we can just say, like, you just violated the rules that you agreed to. You know?
Like, the thing is I don't even care if people think, oh, that ban's justified or it's not. Like, if I have to, if somebody is, in my judgment, contributing negatively to the conversation in chat for a stream, I mean, I think that's grounds to do that. And people can come in and share an opinion that's not popular or whatever and not contribute negatively to chat. But, like, I went and unhid people that have contributed negatively towards chat, and I've heard a lot from people that are normally really fun to interact with chat. I heard a lot in the past couple of weeks about how the experience in chat sucked. Guess what? I'm going to do what's best for the people, all right? I'm going to do what's best for the people. If you're somebody that comes in and makes stuff up and spreads disinformation and does it for attention and blah, 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 like, okay, goodbye, you know? If you try and take over chat that way, okay, goodbye. Like, if you don't listen to us when we tell you to stop, goodbye. Like, I don't have to explicitly write out a rule for that. I want chat to be enjoyable for everyone. I want to enjoy chat when I read it. Plain simple.
Yep. Shout out to TC's Sports Legends for becoming a starter member. Thank you.
What's up, TC Sports Legend?
And then I want to read this comment. Mike Richards says, listening to you, but there are a lot of people who think Dame should be traded. You should be open to the opinion. Okay.
It's not the issue, man. That's not the point.
Yeah. Okay. 1, if you want Dame traded, that's fine. That is your opinion. 2, I do not have to be open to that opinion. I can think how I want. Just like these people are telling us that we're trying to tell them how to think. No, we're just saying we're not going to think like you, bro. So give it a rest. So, like, that's where it is. I'm not saying you can't have that opinion. But don't tell me I should be open to the opinion, because I'm not. I'm not going to be. I will never be. I have said that multiple times on this show. I will not even, like, be open to the idea of moving him unless he wants out. And I think he's earned that privilege. And I just think there's certain people in sports history that earn that right and privilege within a franchise to be with that franchise for as long as they want to. And in my mind, Dame has earned that, and I will hear nothing to the contrary. I don't give a crap if you believe he hasn't earned it or should be traded or is a bum. Whatever. Like, I don't care. Just don't question my view, and I won't question yours. So, like, that's fine. Have your own opinion. That's not what we get mad at. That is not, like, people think that is the reason. It's not.
This is the point. Okay? A week ago, I made the observation that everybody that comes in with that opinion is over the top aggressive about it and will usually add something like, if you don't agree, you don't know basketball, or if you don't agree, then you have low basketball IQ or whatever. That's how people with that opinion, that's how they almost always come in and act. Mm-hmm. So that's what we have a problem with, is people that come in and just immediately attack anyone who thinks differently than them. I've said numerous times that there's opinions that people can have that aren't the same as mine, but I can understand why they have that opinion, and I'm not going to attack them for it. You know, like, that's possible. It's the way people go about having that opinion is the problem. It's not the opinion itself. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest way I can explain it. Shout out. The thing is like, people be like, oh, you always get into this with people that think that way. Well, that's because almost everybody that thinks that way is so over the top aggressive about it. I said that a week ago, in the last, like, 3 people that have come in with that opinion have, like, insulted chat or anyone who thinks differently. So it's a pretty constant theme. shout out Chris Brandlin, or do you want to? I mean, I'm ready to move on unless you have something else.
Well, I just want to follow up because he says, Mike says, understand your viewpoint. I would just say in pro sports you can't do that for one player. Look at all sports. Emmitt Smith, Brady, Pippen. Team has to decide. Just because other teams decided to move on doesn't mean Portland has to decide to move on with their. I mean, it's arguable for some people, but I mean, for me, the best player of all time, a top 75 player of all time, in a small market like Portland, I believe if he wants to stay here, he can. And I don't believe that he's been given a fair chance to win. I still think we owe it to him to give him a fair chance to win as well. And this front office is a joke. We'll get to more of that later.
Mm-hmm. I would just say this: the odds of winning it with Dame is about as great as the odds of winning it coming out of the next rebuild cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people think the odds after we rebuild of winning a championship are so high, and it's not. It's still very, very low. It's really hard to win a championship. 1 out of 30 teams wins a championship, I mean, look how many teams have gone through rebuilds after rebuild after rebuild. Minnesota, Sacramento, they finally made the playoffs today. But are they going to win it all? Probably not. The process in Philadelphia, they haven't even made a conference finals. Whereas Dame has actually made a conference finals here with a front court that wasn't all that great, Mm-hmm. So that's the thing is that's where it's like, even from a basketball standpoint and a business standpoint, it's very debatable as to what the best path would be to win a championship in the next 20 years. I don't think trading Dame gives us some much greater chance to win a championship in the next 20 years. So at that point, I'm going to care about this dude has been loyal to the franchise. I'm going to return that loyalty. If you want stars to be loyal in the future, you got to be loyal to the stars that are loyal to you. So if you go and turn your back on Dame after not giving him enough help, and then say Ant continues to progress and becomes like a 28-point-per-game, 6-assist scorer, and you're trying to keep him because now he's a star and a top 20 player or whatever, right? If he saw how you did Dame, why would he be loyal? Why wouldn't he just go look for the brightest lights and the most, sponsorship money and endorsements that he could get in a bigger market? Because why would he be loyal to Portland since Dame was and Portland wasn't loyal back? So it doesn't set a good business precedent going forward. The path is still extremely murky. Like, at that point, I'm just going to go back to the morals of this dude has been loyal to us, so I'm going to be loyal back to him, Especially when it's not, it's like I wouldn't trade him for really anything at this point. You ride it out and you try and do best by him, and if you can't do it and he wants out, then you trade him when he wants out. That's how I view it.
Also, Sharpe and Ant, if that's your backcourt of the future or whatever, are still young enough to be here after Dame gives it another 2 or 3 years. They're still, Sharpe will only be 22. Anthony will just be entering his prime at like 26 in 3 years. So, so
there's a comment I want to respond to.
Mm-hmm.
He says, understand, just disagree with the loyalty thing. I believe if you go young, you can get a lot of assets for Dame this summer. I don't think loyalty is a thing in pro sports, just my thought. Well, in a lot of instances, loyalty isn't a thing in pro sports, but with Damian Lillard, it is. So that's where I feel like it's good to return the favor.
And it's not like he's deteriorating or something. He's had his best year ever.
Yeah. So,
well,
he's a good mentor for young guys too. Like, I mean, it's more than just on court as well.
I do want to say something to that, and it ties in with the next donation. But first, I want to respond to this. Trevor Williams says, I've been blaming Jody for the Blazers, but the Seahawks, another team owned by Jody, why are they making good moves and we are not? Maybe it's time to clean house in the front office. Okay. The NFL has a hard cap. So Jody can literally she's got John Schneider, the GM, and Pete Carroll, the coach. They've won a Super Bowl, should have won 2 Super Bowls. But like those guys are respected football guys. So she can literally just mind her own business and say, you guys can do whatever you want, because they can't do more than the salary cap. And so they have the free reign to do whatever they want within the parameters of the cap. And if they feel like paying Geno Smith $30 million a year is is worth it, that's fine because it affects how much they can spend elsewhere, and that's up to them. Meanwhile, with the NBA, it's set up to where you are penalized if you go over a certain amount, and the soft cap makes it so you have to constantly make decisions at every deadline and every trade at every free agency period, whether you want to pay more money and be tasked with having to pay a tax instead of getting a huge payment, having to possibly lose money and have to take out a big revenue share of this stuff. So football's a cash cow. She literally doesn't have to do anything other than make sure that she has smart people in place. And with basketball, unfortunately, every decision they've made has been not smart for the most part. It's like hiring a GM without an interview. And it's basically because she needed someone she could control and be a yes man. And unfortunately, that's the situation with the basketball team. And so it's never going to be the same as football, because football, like the NFL, literally prints money, and Jody doesn't have to do anything or be involved. She can just say, yeah, go do your thing, and everything is fine. And you'll still make money no matter how bad the franchise is or what you do.
Yep. Shout Chris Brandlin, $2 donor, says ride or die with Dame. Blazer emojis. Thank you, Chris. Shout to Lank Dog with a $5 dono, says, let's say Dame was traded. What would you expect in return? 3 firsts plus, ? Just hypothetical. Don't jump me. Lifelong fan here trying to be serious. I mean, if people just honestly ask that question, I don't care. Right. I'll just continue to reiterate, like, I don't feel comfortable with the thought of trading him. And I don't want to trade him, so I can't even really think about like what I'd expect in return. You know, I would expect us to keep him. That's really the only thing. But if you only get 3 firsts plus like minor assets for a top 10 player, that's a terrible trade. You have to get back much more than that. So, you know, like you should be looking for something in. He's a little younger than KD, been a little bit more durable than KD. I'm not saying he should have more trade value in KD, but you should be asking for something in the ballpark, at least, as to what Brooklyn got back for KD, if in any hypothetical. So
yeah, if it doesn't beat like the Gobert trade, what are we doing? You know?
Yeah.
And I know that was a ridiculous trade, but like that's the kind of thing. Okay. Say we're trading him, right? Let's go through it. The Bucks, they have no first to trade. They don't have assets to trade us. They don't have a good young players, right? The Celtics can trade some of their future first, but like they already owe a future pick swap. This year's pick is already owed to Indiana for the Brogdon trade. They don't have a lot of good young talent on that roster. And it wouldn't make sense to trade like Tatum or Brown or whatever for Dame, because that you're just switching stars out. You're trying to add to it. So they probably can't get what you want. Philadelphia 76ers have Tyrese Maxey, and I don't think they can trade first for a while. So they can give you Maxey for Dame and basically Tobias Harris, you know, and like maybe one first, right? The Cavs can't trade anything, nor would they probably want to switch out their roster. The Heat have no future assets to trade, and unless you think Tyler Hero is the answer, they're not trading. They're not giving us a package worth Dame. The Hawks used up all their assets on DeJounte Murray, so they're out. The Raptors don't have young stars outside of Scotty Barnes, but like, are you really happy with a package with Scotty Barnes and some firsts or something for Dame?
That'll probably be late first because they'll be good for a while.
Would they even do that? Like, I don't know. So like so then like that leaves like the Knicks, I guess, have a bunch of future picks. But like, I don't know how well Dame fits there with Brunson and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
if we're just getting future first, that's not good enough, because a lot of them are going to be late if they're the Knicks, and then any from other teams are protected like top 10. So it's like, what, you're only going to get back mid to late first round picks for Dame? That's not good enough. None of those assets are meaningful enough to even have a conversation. You have to be talking about very valuable assets in terms of very good young players or very, very good draft picks. That's just not like the Knicks. That I don't think the Knicks honestly have enough.
But also, like, teams like the Knicks and the Nets, like, if they give up a bunch of good players for Dame to match salary, like, that makes them not as good too. So, like, are they even good enough to win? Is it worth it for Dame to, like, trade or go there? And the Nets don't owe any of their future picks. So what, we're going to get Phoenix's future picks or whatever? Maybe that's okay. Like, that they could the Knicks and the Nets might have okay packages.
Somebody says Mikal Bridges straight up. Get out of here, dude. Get out. Straight up? Seriously? No, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Like, we got to say in the same ballpark as KD, the Nets got Mikal Bridges, Keon Johnson, and like 4 unprotected firsts and a swap. I know Mikal's been nice, but shoot, he's never proven to play at a star level for more than 20 games in his previous 20 games. Like, you know, he could be overachieving these 20 games. Like, you don't even know if he's truly star level. He looks like a star right now, but you don't know that he's truly star level, like, on a season-to-season basis. Yeah. So straight up for a dude that's proven that he's a top 10 player for multiple years is not even close. Not even close.
And then, yeah, I mean, we're not trading him to a crappy team anyway, so that rules out
Slim says Dame for Banchero filler and 10 first-round picks, which is probably a troll, but, like, that's the thing is, young rebuilding teams aren't going to trade a Banchero for a Dame. They're on a future timeline. They're not on a present timeline.
Yeah, and they don't have 10 picks to trade either. So then go to the Nuggets, okay? The Nuggets don't have any assets, and they don't
give me Michael Porter trash can. No, thank you.
They don't have a lot of young players. So what, are we going to get Jamal Murray and 1 first or something in 2030 or something, like, for Dame? The Grizzlies and the Kings both have young point guards that I don't think it makes sense for them to deal. I mean, maybe they do.
We got a package from the Warriors from Mike Richards who says you can do Kuminga, Moody, Pick, and Wiggins. That's terrible.
That is awful, man. That is horrendous. And then they can trade like 1 of their future picks. So like you get 1 first round pick out of that and a bunch of mid players that aren't even that good. Like come on, dude. We're trading, like, this is why, like, we're not winning a championship making that trade. We're
if
way
anything,
better.
We get stuck with like a team that gets the 9th pick every year.
We're better off not making a single move and running this team back next year than making that trade.
Yeah.
Like, that's how bad that is. Okay, Minnesota has no assets anymore. The Lakers have no assets to trade. The Pelicans could. Are they going to reunite Dame and CJ? I mean, that's maybe a possibility. Dallas doesn't have any assets. Utah, maybe they trade for him because of the whole, Dame
Weber State connection.
Weber State.
And Markkanen's good.
And... Like that's the only like mid team that I could see maybe making a move for him, but that goes against everything Danny Ainge has ever done, and that seems to be a rebuild, not a let's add Dame and go for it type team.
You know what this conversation is showing me, Eric? That if we just keep Dame with the young assets that we have, a potential top 5 pick this year, the 7th overall pick from last year who has a super upside, a 23-year-old that averaged 21 and 4, and then future first, if a star ever does become available, we have a legitimate chance at them. So if Embiid ever becomes available and asks out, a lot of these teams are going to struggle to put together packages. With our assets, you got a young, proven starter who's proven that he can put up numbers in production, who still has upside in front of him. You have a super enormous upside young player, 19-year-old, who was the 7th pick last year, the type of chip that teams love if they're going to reset. you got a potential top 5 to 7 pick this year. Who knows where it ends up? Or, if we draft somebody, they're a trade chip as a young guy. And then future first, like, that's the thing, is like, the way the league is with teams going all in for like Gobert and Donovan Mitchell and DeJounte Murray and, there's not a lot of teams that can actually make a splash right now. So it's going to be hard to find a huge worthwhile package for Dame. And in actuality, the next 2 seasons could be the best position the Blazers have ever been in to potentially trade for a star to pair next to Dame. And if they don't, they have young talent. So why does it have to be a situation where you completely go back on the loyalty Dame showed this franchise? For what? It doesn't even make basketball sense like people act like it does.
If you guys are willing to do the type of trades that I'm seeing in chat, why wouldn't the Blazers do one of those trades to get a Damian Lillard type player and add him to Dame and win a championship? Because if it was that easy, or that was something that would lead to a championship, we could easily do that, according to some of you guys, with how little value people have in trades. Come on, like let's be realistic here.
I'd love to trade, after we resign Grant at the deadline next year, I'd love to trade Nasir Little, Jeremy Grant in a pick for Joel Embiid. That's basically the equivalent of some of the trades that we're seeing in here,
Or like Trevin said, just the Knicks first, Nurk, Keon, and Knox for Embiid. There we go.
Yep.
That works, right? We wouldn't even have to give up our lottery pick.
You know why we can make that happen? Because it's just time for Philly to go young.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
They shouldn't be loyal to... Don't be loyal to Embiid. It's a sport.
Yeah, like... That's the thing, is like, fans are tired of the situation because we're bad this year, but it's like they're okay with something equally bad or worse as long as it's different. That's the problem. They're exhausted, so it's like, oh, screw it, just go young. Even if it's not good, even if it ends up being bad, even if it ends up with us having the 9th or 10th pick for the next 4 years. But it's us going young. Like, that's the problem. It's just like, I get it. It's tough to stick it out a second straight year of tanking for some people. I understand that. But, as I said on the last stream, this team has already hit rock bottom. They have more assets to put in play for a big name that actually makes sense to trade for a big name than ever before. Because while people say, CJ 2.0, guess what? He's 23. He's not, like 28. Or 27 like CJ was when Paul George became available. Ant can be a guy that helps the team in the present, and he can be a guy that's a part of a team's future. That is easier to trade in a package for a star. Sharpe is a better young prospect than the Blazers have ever had that they can package in a star. This first-round pick this year is the same exact thing. We took Sharpe with the 7th pick last year. We're more likely, if we have the 5th best odds, to have a pick higher than 7.
Well, okay. So let's say our pick is 5th or whatever, and then we do this magic trade and get the 6th or 7th pick, right?
Yeah.
So we have 2 lotto picks in this draft. So getting like Jarris Walker and Asar Thompson, that's better than Dame and one of those guys? Like, come on, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, if obviously if we could get Wemby for Dame, like, that's maybe the best we're ever going to do, right?
Like, if you can get Asar Thompson with your pick and keep Dame, he has a super high upside, right? But, like, if you're trading Dame for the 7th pick, there's not going to be anybody left there that has a clear-cut super high upside like Shaedon Sharpe. Like, the consensus guy there at, like, 6 or 7 is Jarris Walker. He's very likely to just end up being a really high-caliber role player. Like, he's not the type of prospect that you would expect to turn into, like, a true star. So, there's probably going to be stars, a couple stars later in the draft, but nobody has any idea who they're going to be. And if you can identify them, why don't you just keep Dame and trade for, draft the guy at 23 or whatever with the Knicks pick. Like, that's the thing. So... I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I'd rather just, if you're going that route, like, I don't know. We'd almost need to be super bad for a couple years. But that's the thing, is like fans are tired of that, so I don't get it. Dame just guarantees more of that. Trading him.
Okay, so yes, I would rather, but our 2 lottery picks this year with Ant, Sharpe, Grant, Nurk, Matisse, and run that. Well, one, if we're not bringing Dame back, why are we bringing Grant back? That makes no sense.
Yeah, if we trade Dame, Grant's not coming back.
Yeah, he'll just sign
elsewhere.
So
we lose that asset for nothing.
But anyways, okay. Well, once again, okay. Sir Thompson, let's just say, like, this is the most likely scenario. Jarris Walker are the 2 lottery picks, okay? And then you have Ant, Sharpe, Grant, Nurk, and Matisse. That team is not winning the championship. Like, it's not. Like, we're better off with one of those 2 guys. Pick the right one, because we can pick one of them. You keep Dame with those guys. Ant can play the 2. Sharpe can play the 3. Ant can play the backup point guard. Sharpe can play the backup 2. They can all get 30-plus minutes. They can all get plenty of shots. Matisse doesn't need any shots in that scenario. And then you hope like heck Sharpe and that whatever pick you have develop. Like, that's not crazy talk. And Dame can relinquish some responsibility as those players get better. And it'll prolong his career as well. So, like, I don't understand why you think getting one more of those players makes it so. And we don't even know if Orlando would do that. Or what, like, why would they want Dame?
Yeah, they're not on that timeline. That doesn't make sense. So that's the thing is, can we just stop having this conversation? Like, yeah. Basically, this entire conversation, the point of this entire conversation is that this conversation is pointless.
Well, DJ Vega has a great point about Dame being a mentor. I mean, how much have we talked or heard that with Anthony about how good Dame was for mentoring him? CJ the same way. And now you have Sharpe saying similar things about the way Dame treats him and stuff like that. So, yeah, I just don't. I don't get it, man. But, like,
we need to move on from having this conversation as much as we have it.
All Good says we need some bets in that scenario. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's all we've been asking for is like some vet, like a vet big man and a vet like tough defender that knows how to freaking play and is crafty. You know, like that's like we need those kind of teammates for Dame and the young guys. But I'm all in on the young route. I just don't see why Dame can't be a part of it. Can't be Dame and the youngins with a couple of veterans mixed in.
Yep. Exactly. That's the route. Like, if we get into the top 4, Eric, I'm very confident about our future, because I think if we end up at 4, I'm happy, because I think the top 3 is going to be Wemby, Scoot, Brandon Miller. At 4, you take Amen Thompson and run. I listened to an interview, like an 8-minute interview he had last night with Jonathan Gavoni. I was impressed. The things that dude is like the top 1% in some areas, and then as a shooter, he's like bottom 1%. But like I don't know, like his interview, hearing some of his answers made me a little bit more confident that maybe he can figure it out. Like, he seems like a dude that has a hard work ethic. But athletically, that dude is freaky. He can pass the ball. He can handle the ball. Quickest first step maybe in the league once he gets there. And he's 6'7" and has elite defensive potential. He kind of falls asleep at times off ball, but like he even admitted that in that interview. That's something that he can't do in the league. He even admitted that, in the league, he has to figure out different things because he's not just going to be able to get to the rim all the time, so he's been working on that. Like, you take him and you run, because that dude has a massive ceiling. And he'll be elite in some areas. Like, he'll be definitely playable. And if he can ever figure out a shot, he's the only guy that I think has a chance to be better than Wemby. Now, it would be Wemby not fulfilling his ceiling. I just think the only guy with the ceiling high enough to even compete with that is probably Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson, however you say his name. I always butcher it. But I am super high on him. You take him at 4 and you run, and he can hopefully help your defense next year. I think he has the physical traits and length and quickness to potentially be a plus on that end. That's what we need, right?
If he goes 3, what do you do?
I mean, if he goes 3, then you just take Brandon Miller at 4, probably. Yeah. Or you take Nasir because, yeah, like, that's the thing. That pick has a ton of value. That's the 4th pick. If we have the 5th best odds, we have a 42% chance at a pick that or higher.
So Mike Richards says, I agree if it's 2 mid-lottery picks, but if we get 1 or 2, I would build with that easily for the next 10 years. Well, once again, if we get 1 or 2... Like, if we get 1...
Is he saying trade Dame for 1 or 2, or get 1 or 2 in the lottery?
No team's trading Wemby for...
Yeah,
so it's not happening. So, if we get 1, it's over. We're gonna dominate with Dame. And, like... I don't know how many of you watched that game yesterday of Wembanyama, but he was freaking insane yesterday. Dude, this guy, like, I know... You thought last stream I was like not as high on Wemby as you are, dude. Like, no, I'm not trading it anymore. I'm not like, I know I've been entertaining that trade. I still wouldn't be mad if we end up trading it, but I saw this guy block a 3-point shot, grab the rebound, dribble up the floor, go behind his back and to evade a defender and finish.
Like Jamal Crawford, but he's 7'5".
Right. And he had another block inside where he blocks a guy at the rim, grabs the rebound, takes it all the way and like dribbles through the defense and gets to the basket for a layup or a dunk. It's like, dude, and then he's shooting like 30-foot 3-pointers and cashing them and all this kind of stuff. Like, dude, the guy's freaking insane. And he will instantly transform this team. So if we get you can't trade the pick now. Like, no one's trading their pick right now. They're first unprotected. So that's not how it works, Mike. Like, that's not at this point now. There's not going to be a trade before people know what position they are in the draft. So everyone's going to know what position they are before the draft.
Yeah, you can't make a trade right now because the trade deadline passed. Like, yeah, that's not how it works. Anyway, I'm ready to move on from talking about trading Dame because, I mean, we've done our best at devouring that conversation, and now I'm sick to my stomach. So, because it's a bad meal.
Dame's tweet?
People always say that, and it's like he has multiple tweets. Like, what did we see Dame's tweet about? What? Like, anyway. But the thing is, like, Dame won't be smiling in a picture, and people will be like, Dame's mad.
And then I post a picture of him 1 second later. He's talking about boxing and...
Oh, there was a dude that replied to Dame, says, no offense. Why did you quit on the rest of the season? I know losing is hard, but you are not a loser. The Blazers could have played spoilers. I know you won't respond, but I'm just saying. And this dude responded and said, like it was Dame's decision. And Dame responded to that and said, this way bigger than Nino Brown, whatever that means. So, Dame's had cryptic tweets that don't look great in the past. I don't even know if this is a tweet that looks good or bad. Like, he's had cryptic tweets that don't look great in the past, and then he's had to go out there and reiterate. Like, can we please, like, I'm not saying, Brian, I'm not saying that you're saying anything by bringing up that tweet, but I know that people will read into that, so this is at them. Please do not do this again where we're reading into Dame tweets that are cryptic. Because we've done that before. We've done that multiple seasons before. I mean, he's still here. We're still having the same conversation. So unless the status quo drastically changes, I don't really care what he tweets, you know?
Yeah, it was off a tweet on boxing too, so...
The rest of that saying is, this is big business, says Rahi. So he thinks we're in big business for something great or something. I don't know. Like, dude, that's the thing. Is like who you can probably interpret that multiple ways. So who?
Well, Thomas Rancy says differences that Dame has publicly vented frustrations and impatience for the second time in interviews. No, it's not. He's not venting impatient. Like, he's not saying he's leaving. He's saying he's finally using his power to basically say, what the heck, front office? Why are you not freaking helping me here? Like, why are we doing this? So I think that's what he's meant by interviews.
I mean, the quote is, "This is bigger than Nino Brown. This is big business." I think he's just saying it's bigger than himself. You know, this is this team getting what it needs is bigger than him playing. So I don't know. That's the thing. We could sit here and like guess and guess and guess. What's the point?
But yeah, the last thing I'll say about the Dame trade stuff, like if you think a team or we get number 2 and you think Scoot is the long-term answer and we should trade Dame, that's fine if that's your opinion. I feel like we should use that value of the number 2 pick to get the best possible trade scenario happening, but that's fine. Like if that's what you want to think, but I personally don't think it's more likely to win a title with Scoot instead of Dame if that's what we're doing. So I don't know. Like I'd just rather give Dame a legit chance at least once before we move on from him.
Yeah, we will. Eric, can we just agree not to have this conversation on the final 5 or the final 6 post-game shows of the year? And anybody that's being a jerk about,
well, I mean, this is going to come up
or you have low IQ,
off-season.
then we just hide them if they're being a jerk about it, or if they're, you know what I mean, like.
Well,
but when this comes up, I'm ready to go back to what I've always done, which is like, Dame's not getting traded. We've done this summer after summer. There's no point in even discussing it unless something drastically changes. So don't waste your breath. That's what I'm going to say. Moving on, because we can sit here and go in circles, all stream, every stream.
I will say this though: the people who like Mike basically alluded to the fact that Dame shooting 20 shots a game kind of stunts Sharpe and Ant's ultimate development. If that's how you feel, and we take Scoot, like that, I don't see how that changes it, right? Because we're still drafting a guard. Even the Thompson twins are more guardish than anything. So like we're just transferring it to a different person. So that's how I feel. It's just like we might as well try to have Ant and Sharpe play 2 and the 3 or get minutes as the 3 guards versus like trying to bring in another younger guard.
Yep. Shout out Jakob with a 20 Norwegian crony. Final bit of conversation on this. Says Brown and some great assets might be the only one. Yeah, I don't want that though. Because they don't have other great assets outside of him that they'd trade for Dame. And getting Jaylen Brown, like, he's not ever going to be a top 10 player. He probably makes you like the 9th worst team, 10th worst team in the league. And then you get stuck in that area where it's like you don't have a high enough draft pick, but you're nowhere near good enough to make noise in the playoffs. And like, I feel like that's where we'd get stuck and basically just be sitting there hoping that Shaedon Sharpe becomes a borderline superstar, because that's the only thing that's going to get you out of being stuck in that range where you're drafted 9th or 10th, or you magically draft the next Giannis with like the 10th pick, you know, and get lucky and just find a guy that people underrate, which is very, very hard and much harder to do now than it was back in 2013 when Giannis got drafted. I had a conversation about that on a previous postgame show. So I don't like those types of trades, because like you can look at the asset package like, oh yeah, that's not absolutely horrible, because every other trade for Dame is usually horrible, especially stuff that national media comes up with. So you can sit there and be like, oh, okay, that's not complete trash. But if you actually think about where it put the team, it doesn't put the team in a good spot in order to build a contender. So it's still not good.
Yeah, well, okay, so I don't know why Hutch sucks so much is saying Jaylen Brown's only 19. Do you mean someone else?
Huh?
I don't know.
He probably meant Sharpe, but
the first appearance of the day.
Where's our mods?
Trevin had it. Good job, Trevin. Proud of you, man.
Where's all our other mods other than Trevin?
I don't know.
Zach was here tonight.
So, the thing with Boston, okay, so the whole reason why Boston would trade Jaylen Brown this summer, if they even trade him, is because he has one more year left on his deal. Why? Like, what's to say he doesn't leave Portland? And so you're going to end up trading Dame for 1 year of Jaylen Brown and then a bunch of mid to late first round picks or whatever. Like, okay, that sounds awesome. I'd rather just keep Dame and be loyal to him and not some guy who's kind of weird. And yeah, I don't know. Just it's crazy.
Yep. What do you want to talk about next?
I'll finish the Dame thing with this, okay? Because Mike Rich is saying, look from Cronin's point of view, which option gives him better job security? Trading Dame and going young, allowing growth, or adding to him, and if it fails, and he is out. Here's the deal. I don't care what gives him more job security, because either one of two things are happening. Either he's made horrible moves and failed to put a good enough team around Dame, or he's been lying about it and made terrible moves if we're moving on from Dame. So I'm going to be pissed either way. If he can't get it done to get Dame more talent, or if he moves on from Dame, or this organization moves on from Dame, none of the other moves make sense. They don't make sense. You don't give up 2 seconds. Like if Thybulle walks, we gave up 2 seconds for 30 games of him tanking. Like what are we doing? Like, this is stupid. Like no, we got to give Dame a legit chance with a GM and an owner that are actually going for it and want to help him win. And until that happens, I think we owe Dame he's the one who should have the security to do what he wants. If he wants to stay, he gets to stay.
But also, running Dame out of town would not be good for his job security. The fan base would hate him. The valuation of the organization would plummet. Ticket sales would go through the floor. How does that help with his job security? Jakob says, I'm sorry, it was just a question. My friend is a Celtics fan and really wanted Dame. The question's fine. The question's fine. We're just going after the idea, you know? It's okay to ask questions and get a response like, oh, well, that scenario doesn't play out well. Here's why, you know? It's nothing to apologize for. It's okay that you asked the question. We're just explaining why it would be bad.
Cronin got the job and will keep the job because he's a yes man and is doing whatever Jody wants him to do. So his job security will be whether Jody holds up her end of him doing what she wants. So, yeah.
Mike Richards says, I disagree. Remember Jailblazers era? Arena was empty. Fans came back. They always will. Okay, was the GM during the Jailblazers era the same as the GM when fans came back when we had Roy, Aldridge, and Odin? Or was it a different GM? I mean, you asked the question about Cronin and how he would protect his job security, and now you're bringing up two different GM scenarios.
Did you see the arena tonight?
Yeah.
Did you see the game? My mom was in here earlier. She's a season ticket holder. She freaking hates this. She hates it. She'll probably cancel her season tickets if they do this again next year.
So anyway, this is the last time I want to have this conversation the rest of the season. The rest of the offseason, too. And next season.
Max, it's not even realistic that we'll be 5th, but the most realistic player we get is probably Jarvis Walker because he fits needs. But the whatever Thompson twins falls is probably likely to. But, I mean, I don't know. We've talked about it multiple times, but...
Another Tankathon sim to get us off this conversation.
Yes.
Just to get us off of this.
The first one is tainted.
Yeah. This is the actual real one. We got first last night. Let's see if we can get first on back-to-back nights.
Hey, there's Aeromancer. What's up?
What's up?
Jason Tatum is like 18.
Okay.
Oh, Indiana moves down 2 spots.
Oh,
Great.
man. So who moved up? That's Orlando and Chicago? Oh, wait, no, not Orlando. That's Chicago. Which would go to Orlando unless it's top 4. Yeah, Chicago and Washington. At 8 is Orlando. At 7, same freaking result. 4 is San Antonio. 3 is Chicago. 2 is Charlotte. And 1 is Washington. They get 1 a lot, I feel like, in our Tankathon sims.
Gotta get that full number 5 odds.
Yep, so that we can move up. Okay. 3. There you go. We get to debate. Although, do you think Houston would just take Scoot and just have Scoot, KPJ, and
I think they'd trade a bunch of people. Yeah.
And Jalen Green together? That would kind of be disgusting in a bad way. But, at 3, we would get to have the Brandon Miller versus Amen Thompson debates. That would be painful, actually. But I'll take 3. I mean, take whichever one, whatever, you know.
Is Dame in his prime? No, someone who averaged 32 and 7.3 assists is out of his prime. He's washed. Won't ever be the same again.
Is there anything good to talk about on this post-game show? Oh, how about something good?
How would I rate Grady? Grady's fine. I have him around like 11th or 12th on my board. One of the best shooters in this draft. Going to be, I think you can use him in a lot of ways, but I don't know if he's ever going to be like more than a off-ball mover, shooter, spot-up shooter with okay defense. But
I don't want him with our lottery pick.
Don't know if he's the right fit for the Blazers. But.
Speaking of something good, though, Horror Director. $20 dono, thank you, Horror Director. But speaking of something bad, Horror Director says on his dono that he is also a Browns fan and his life is pain. Well, thank you for Horror Director. I'm sorry you're a Browns fan. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I'm a Mariners, Niners, and Gonzaga fan, so I am utterly cursed. But the Blazers are my worst team right now, which, of course, is the team that I cover. So, kind of sucks. Wish they could trade places with the Niners right now. But, shout Sam Dooley, member for 4 months, says, Tank emoji. You have been killing it this season. Thanks. I appreciate you, Sam, as always.
Thanks, Sam, and everyone who donated. Appreciate all of you.
Colonel Pancake says Mariners are going to be good this year. They're going to be good. Niners are going to be good. I mean, Gonzaga's always, like, good on the national scene. They just can't get the job done. Blazers suck.
All right, we got to finish with some hot Skylar Mays talk.
Oh, God, I don't even want to talk about him. There's a comment. We can talk about it after I respond. Andy Marshall says, Tori, are you excited for MLB starting tomorrow? I mean, I am, but there's so much graphic work I'm doing for baseball channels right now that it's just, I got a meeting after the stream is done. Like, right after the stream is done to get somebody set up for tomorrow. So it's super, super stressful. I feel like the season's not even starting because I can't even focus on the season starting because it's like a deadline for stuff I have to get done. But anyway, Skylar Mays. You want to talk about Skylar freaking Mays?
So they just randomly signed a 10-day. So they don't have an open roster spot. So they must have. It's too late in the year. I think it's January 15th is the cutoff to apply for a disabled player exception, which they probably should have done for Winslow if they knew he was going to be out the rest of the year. And we could talk about that in a second as well. But the Skylar Mays thing was because Keon apparently somehow broke his finger in a shoot-around, walk-around this morning.
How do you even do that?
I don't know how that happened.
Nasir Little missed a shot off the front of the rim so hard it came down and Keon Johnson was under the rim. Or
it kicked out his foot so far that
the theory that Chad Doing put out was that Joe Cronin was wearing a mask, and after Keon Johnson had 20 points last game, Cronin had to go and injure him, so Joe Cronin showed up to the practice facility in a mask and broke his finger and then ran.
Yeah, I just this has nothing to do with Skylar Mays or signing him or whatever. It's fine. Like, who cares? But what is this organization doing with Keon? Like, what? This is the same organization that propped up his value as a first round value. This is like getting that first round pick in a trade because he was a rookie first round pick. And then, Tori and I, we talk about no matter how good Keon is, when the heck is he going to get time to play, right? How is he going to breach the rotation this year? And you don't want him to play over Sharpe. And unless Dame or Anthony get hurt, where are any minutes going to come? And so we get injuries and there's opportunity. Like, he had a chance to play and then he doesn't play very much. And then we start Ryan Arcidiacono over him for several games. Instead of trying to develop Keon, and now he's hurt again. And then, I just don't understand, what's the point of even having him on the team? So that's another person that I hope for his sake they deal him this summer because, what? I don't even know what we're doing with it.
I mean, we could go back to the theory that Jody Allen kind of forced Joe Cronin to make that trade, and they didn't actually value Keon Johnson. Because
well, why wouldn't they flip him then again at some point? He had a good summer league, right? And they were really high on him this summer, his work ethic and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then they just don't play him at all. It just makes no sense. I don't understand.
Horror Director with a $10 dono says Keon would be great on any other team other than the Blazers. I definitely don't agree with that. Well, I'll talk about that in a second. Thank you, Horror Director, for the $10 dono. And then Shy Guy has a $2 dono. He says it took us 7 days, but the toilet's unclogged. I know he had toilet problems, so congratulations, Shy Guy. I'm glad you cleared that up. I'm glad that you relieved the pressure in your toilet. But as far as Keon goes, man, he's too stiff. He's too the way he's. The thing is he was regarded highly coming into the draft because he was looked at as just a really great athlete, right? And that would allow him to do things at the NBA level. I don't care about vertical jump numbers at the combine. I don't care. I don't care if a dude has a 44-inch vert or a 37-inch vert. Sure, a 48-inch vert with Sharpe is crazy. But Sharpe actually puts it to use. Keon doesn't put his athleticism to use. Part of it is he's shorter than Sharpe. Part of it is he's not quite as bouncy as Sharpe. And then part of it is, I don't know if it's tight hips or what, but he just looks stiff when he plays. And he looks like a guy who struggles to change direction super quickly, or it doesn't have a super great first step. As an undersized guard who's not a pure point, it's almost impossible to be a remotely competent offensive player in the league if you don't have a great first step, aren't some magnificent ball handler, and then you don't change directions well, and you're 6'2" or 6'3".
I think he's shown flashes of time, so like I still think I wouldn't be surprised if he eventually figures some of that stuff out, how to use his athleticism a little better. We know like with Anthony too, like Anthony struggled in some of those categories as well until the middle of last year. But he just...
I never felt like Ant was as stiff as he was, though.
That's true, but
Ant could also shoot the lights out.
Right, and that's part of the problem. But like Keon just seems like the ultimate example of, like you said, he's not a good enough ball handler to be a point guard, but could he be if he had enough reps, or if he got like that role consistently? I mean, just throwing in a non-ball handler, non-point guard as the point guard for randomly a couple games off the bench isn't going to like mean you for sure can or can't do it. I think he needs to go to a team where he gets more of a runway to showcase some of his things, and maybe in 2 or 3 years he could be something. But I've never thought that would ever happen here, and then he had a chance to have that happen this year, and he still didn't really get much of an opportunity, and now he's hurt and probably not going to play again.
At this point, I value, especially late in the first and into the second, I talk about it a lot. I try and pay attention to just how guys move, and no two guys move exactly the same, so it's hard to even, like, narrow it down to anything. But, like, somebody said it earlier in chat, and this is what I said about Nas, is, like, Nas also doesn't have the greatest first step. He doesn't change direction super fluidly. I don't know, like, he was more athletic coming into the league than he is now. But you just have these guys, it's just, I don't really know how to describe it. It's just the way they look when they attack off the dribble. It's just, they look stiff. And that's the best way I can describe what Keon looks like to me. That's the best way I can describe what Nasir Little looks. Sometimes Nasir Little will look fine. It's not something where it's like, they can't, move fluidly, but...
He had some impressive finishes tonight.
Yeah, but like here's the thing with all of Nas's finishes is like he's jumping straight into a guy or like jumping into a gap and like extending. I don't know, man. It's all like at guys for the most part, or he'll run into a guy and that'll stop his momentum and then he'll be able to fade.
Yeah. Well, he had that one nice where he went under the rim and reverse laid it in. That was a different type of Nas move tonight. That was good. I
mean, maybe another way if people don't understand what I'm saying is like they lack shiftiness.
Mm-hmm.
They have no shiftiness. And being able to create off the dribble, being shifty is important. But it's like you can get by if you can pass the ball at a high level and like manipulate pick and rolls and do that sort of thing. Like Keon and Nas aren't that guy. One of the reasons I loved Austin Reeves in the draft, and he's been a steal of an undrafted free agent for the Lakers, was because of how shifty he was, and because of how he could change direction with the ball in his hands, how he had a good feel for how to attack with his footwork with a live dribble, like that sort of stuff. I was really impressed with him. The knock on him was he didn't shoot well, but like mechanics wise, it wasn't anything too messy. So it was like if he could just ever knock down threes somewhat consistently, he should be a solid offensive role player in the league because all the off the dribble stuff checks out. This year he's hitting 38% of his threes. He's averaging 12 a game, and he's been phenomenal. For a second year undrafted player, he's been phenomenal for the Lakers. So that's the thing is I feel like maybe it's Cronin, or maybe it's, maybe it was Olshey and Cronin, but it's like, we want to build an athletic team, so we're going to go get Keon Johnson because he had the highest vertical jump at his year's combine, right? Doesn't mean anything. Like, the context you need to have context with every athlete in the game of basketball. It's not the NFL where it's like, oh, this dude accelerates well and can run a 4.2 40, so he's going to be a deep threat. It's not the same. And I know guys don't really run 4.240s, but it's just a example. Like 4.3, 4.40s. He's going to be a burner. He's going to be able to at least be a deep threat. In basketball, it's different. You can't just look at a vertical jump and think, oh, well, he's going to be able to put this to use and make things happen because of it. So.
Yep.
Blazer fan says Thompson twins need context. That's why I love Amen Thompson. It's because of how quickly he changes direction, how quick his first step is, how shifty he is, how he can... I mean, he's not perfect, but sometimes he's going so insanely fast and still making the right reads. And he's athletic with different footwork, off of 1, off of 2. He gets creative with how he dices up his footwork in the paint. Like, everything that Nas and Keon don't do off the dribble is what the Thompson brothers do. That's why I like them so much.
Yeah, for the record, Mike, I was not talking about you with my comments. That was before our conversation with you.
Jakob says, Amen Thompson is stiff as a board. What are you talking about, Jakob?
I think he just likes you saying people are stiff.
I feel like he is trolling. I hope he's trolling, because, yeah. Guru says these guys aren't on Dame's timeline, bro. Guess what? It doesn't matter what age a player is. If a player is good, a player is good. People get so concerned over time and age. Guess what? This team just needs good players, young or old. If a guy was 100 but played like Jokic, guess what? Bring him in. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's impossible, but I don't care what a dude's age is as an NBA player, just as long as he's good. Young players can be good. Shoot, Chris Paul was 36 and almost won a championship with the Phoenix with a bunch of guys that were young. In their early 20s. But people get too concerned with, we got too many guys that are young. We either need to get all young or all old.
So Shy Guy donated. I'm going to read off one of his questions. Would you guys look into shopping Nas or Keon and are second to move up to like 34 to 38 to try and land Holmes? It's not a bad idea, but I don't think either of those guys are going to have much value in terms of a trade like that. It's more just using their contract and attaching it to one of our picks to get someone in that range. For example, I mean, this is not saying it's possible. Once again, I'm just saying, like, if we got the fifth pick or whatever and offered the fifth and Nas and Keon for Claxton or something like that, those are the kind of moves I think it would be, not moving up like 10 spots in the second round. I mean, if Keon has that, if some team wanted Keon and offered us a high second for him, sure. I'd gladly take that at this point. Just get that, move on from that situation. But the reason I also saw that, sorry, I forgot who said this, but like, is it possible that Cronin is, well, actually just read off the next donation and I'll.
Horror Director, another $10 dono. Thank you, Horror Director. Appreciate you, man. Says, I guess my stress is just we have great players that could do great things, but there's some weird crappy thing in Portland that people can't be great. It sucks. Thank you, Horror Director, for that $10 dono. I mean, it's just not the right players. It's nothing to do with Portland. It's just not the right players. It's not like we're getting guys that should be great and then aren't. You know, if we brought in Giannis, he'd be Giannis. If we brought in Embiid, it'd be Embiid. The problem is, for the longest time, this organization has really struggled to working around the fringes of the roster. And it was funny because during the broadcast today, I heard Lamar Hurd talk about how Cronin has done a really good job at identifying guys that, you know, are like on the fringe of the NBA. I'm paraphrasing here, but like guys that are barely in the NBA, Cronin has done a good job of identifying guys like that and being able to extract some value out of them. And the example is Drew Eubanks. No, the thing is Drew Eubanks is not good. We bring him in and then try and convince ourselves that he is good. Mm-hmm. And then people realize he's crap, or they don't. But guess what? He doesn't help this team win. He's a third-string center that's being used as a backup. And that's part of the reason we struggled this year, you know? Trendon Watford's an undrafted free agent. Sometimes those guys can pan out, but Trendon Watford has very limited... he's very limited as a player, and his role is questionable, like 4 or 5... Shooting's questionable. Like, there's a lot of questions with Trendon Watford, but he does have some skill. So, like, occasionally he'll drop like 20 points and 6 assists and 8 rebounds, and people be like, "Oh man, look at that guy." But then the next game he'll come out and they'll struggle because he's barely in the NBA for a reason, you know. And then people will get disappointed. You know what I mean? It's that roller coaster, but it's not with guys that are like good enough. It's just with kind of crap.
Yeah, here's the deal, and this is something we've pointed out with every move. We're always chasing something in a player that he doesn't have and that we hope he has eventually. We need to make moves for players that already have it and can already bring that to the table. Not someone that, if he's just in the right system with Dame's mentorship, maybe he can fix his mental problems, or maybe he can all of a sudden become a good shooter in Portland, you know, because he wasn't given a chance elsewhere. And it's always like those kind of guys that Cronin's been focusing on. Like Justice Winslow has sucked for years, right? And then no, but like he's going to be in the perfect situation here. We're going to use his skills perfectly. Josh Hart we bring in as that like tough nosed guy, hustler guy that we've wanted, and then we don't like play him in that role or whatever. and so yeah, it's like every move, like even Thybulle is like a good defender, but like he's not really he's not valuable to a team. He wasn't valuable to Philly because like he got played off the court at times because of his offense being bad. So it's always getting those kind of fringe players, not actual veterans that know their assignment, know their roles, can come in, be a lunch pail type player like the Ed Davis types that we had in the past, the Al-Farouq Aminu types that just come in and they never complain. They just come in, do their job. They know what they're supposed to do on the court. They know they're not a star player, so they don't try to do more than they're capable of in their skill set. And those are the players that we've been missing for the last few years. We don't have those kind of players that do the dirty work and don't think they're a star player.
That's why we weren't super high on the Cam Reddish pickup.
Right. And so, but like, we had a chance to get Hartenstein in that deal, right? And that's a guy who does know his role and will come in and just do like some of the dirty work, protect the rim, and could do some of the little things, right? So like
that's why I was mad. That's why I was mad. You remember the stream? I was mad. I was talking about how we should have just taken Hartenstein instead of Cam Reddish.
Right. But we didn't want to take salary for next year. But yeah, so, and if we're going to take those guys, it doesn't make sense to then not take Wiseman because like he's the number 2 pick. He has more upside than any of those guys if he actually figures out some of those things, right? So that's my problem is they took like mid guys that even if they figure it out still aren't going to be great, but they pass up on someone for second round picks that could actually develop into something still.
And he's at a position of freaking need.
Yeah, and we needed a center too, sure. But like it's not just Wiseman, but my whole point is like when is Portland going to trade for players that actually they know what they're getting and they know they're going to help them instead of hoping they're going to help them. Unless you hit a home run on that and that guy is good and he's just you find like some diamonds in the rough, having him come in and be like okay for a few games and then crappy for a few games, then okay. That's exactly why this team is just okay or crappy, because we have a bunch of players that are just okay to crappy and they just don't have what it takes to make a team better in the NBA. And that I'm kind of glad that we could have as many as only 6 people back on this roster next year, because there just needs to be a complete changing of the philosophy, I feel like, in those bench roles and rotation roles. It's okay to have some of those guys at the end of your bench, some developmental guys, but you don't want to have like your whole bench be developmental guys. And that's what we've been doing.
Yep, Horde Director has a $10 dono that kind of goes with the overarching point there. Thank you, Horde Director, for the $10 dono, man. It says, but there's always something. There's something that the ownership is trying to sell us on. The only consistent thing we have as fans is Dame, but that is running out. Yeah, it's like they try and sell us on players being something that they aren't. And it's all the people that get pissed off at me for being too negative that are always trying to sell me on a guy like Cam Reddish being something that he's not. Mm-hmm. Elite scorer. He looks like Paul George. Here, look, somebody that played with him in high school said that he reminds him of Paul George. So see, that proves me right. Okay, well.
He's 6'8", that automatically makes him good.
Yeah, it's just like stretching every which way to try and act like Cam Reddish is something that he's not. And we always do that. And I always sit here and say, like, oh, here we go again. Here we go again with Mario Hezonja. Oh, he can be a point forward that can defend. And maybe he'll be able to figure out his shot kinda. And then imagine how great that would be. A point forward that can defend and hit shots. And is athletic too. Right? Like, it's always. There's always a portion of the fan base that I don't get along with that always tries to pitch literally every acquisition as better than it actually is. But I'll sit there and say, oh, look at Naz Reid. He has talent that's very clear and obvious. Yeah, and he's putting up numbers. He's, like 2 years ago, it was like he's putting up 9-10 points per game in 18 minutes. That's really good. And he's doing it efficiently from 3 and attacking the rim as a big. Like, that's talent, Like, it's very clear-cut and obvious.
Who did you say?
Naz Reid.
Oh, Naz Reid, yeah.
And it's like an unheralded guy. Like, go make a splash. It's not a splash, but, like, go see if you can get that guy. Maybe he's still undervalued by the team he's on. Because that's a guy.
Free agent.
Yeah, or he's whatever. Now it's like the last 7 games, he's averaging 18 a game. Because he's getting more minutes. But he always had the talent to shoot, attack the rim, handle the ball a little bit as a big. Like, it was obvious. So that's the thing, is it's not like there aren't guys out there. And I know Naz Reid didn't get traded, but there are always guys out there. And I'll talk about these guys. The reason I'm always frustrated with a lot of our moves, we don't get those guys. We get the Cam Reddishes and Matisse Thybulle. Like, Matisse Thybulle is super limited, but guess what? He comes in and shoots 4 for 6 his first game. Now all of a sudden he's a 3-point sniper, which is exactly the point about how we're always talking about guys as if they can do things that they can't, or that as if they're something better than they are. And it's frustrating for me as somebody who tries to be realistic.
Mm-hmm. All Good says, feels like this team is hedging for that youth movement. We're pretty far from the team y'all are describing. Well, I got news for you. A lot of these guys are free agents. Like, what if we don't bring them back? Then we're just going to reshuffle them to the same type of guys, just with a different guy, and it's still going to not work. So yeah, what worked in 2019? We had 2 role player forwards. We had Mo Harkless and Al-Farouq Aminu, who just went in, did their job. Like I said, they didn't try to take over the offense. They didn't try to get out of position on defense and stuff like that. They knew their responsibilities and they played them well. We signed Enes Kanter, who before Nurkic came, like, we knew what he was. He's not a good defender, but he'd come in, get you some offensive rebounds, score around the basket, and be a kind of a hardworking rebounder type. And then we had the defensive forward next to him in Zach Collins in his second year, who was blossoming as, a defensive specialist and one of those tough-nosed defenders that we needed.
A young guy.
Yeah, a young guy, yeah. And then we had one of the best shooters in the league, Seth Curry, off our bench. So we had shooting. And then we get Rodney Hood, who shot phenomenally and was like our bench scorer, you know, like guy who could get us some buckets off our bench unit. And then we had like another young guy like Jake Layman, who started a little bit of that year when Harkless was in out of the lineup, who had some good moments that year too, and then got his role completely taken away and was never really the same. But we had, that's like eight or nine guys we had that you could depend on every single night to come in and do their job, and you knew what they were good at. You knew how to use them. It wasn't like, oh, we need Enes Kanter to be like Hakeem Olajuwon on defense, and maybe someday he'll be that, and if we could be really good if he is. Like, no, we knew the limitations, and we made it work. And that's just the problem is, I mean, who are you relying on for minutes right now? Like, even veterans like Justice Winslow on this team, like, you can't count on him game to game to have good games or to shoot well and do all that stuff. So we need players you can count on consistently to get the job done.
I point that out, and I'm a hater.
Right.
There's a comment in chat. Please ask the host if they would take Dame over any of the five I mentioned. Ja, Luka, Steph, Shai, and Drew. Bro, if you think Drew Holiday is a better player than Dame right now,
50 tonight.
I have property on freaking Mars to sell you. Come on, man. Come on, bro. Like, I understand if you'd have Luka and Steph and maybe Shea at this point, but like, what has Shea ever won? And statistically, Dame was better than Shea this year, so why are we saying that Shea's better? Because he has a 500 team? Dame's had great seasons where he's won stuff in the playoffs, so why are we saying that Shea's better? Ja is a freaking... Ja's not better simply because he has problems. And hopefully he's figuring that out, but that's not the leader you want of a team. So if you're taking leadership into account, I don't see how you say Ja's better. And he had a team last year when he didn't play, the team was like 20-7. He has a team around him. So it's easier to look better. But statistically, Ja's not better than Dame either. I can understand if you'd have Steph and Luka ahead of him, for sure. But I don't see how you can make a case for freaking Drew Holiday, man. Come on now. Milwaukee would trade Drew for Dame in a freaking heartbeat. Like, I'm willing to have a conversation, but if you say something like completely blasphemous, like you think Drew is better than Dame, then I can't with that. That's just so wild. I'm done having this conversation. Done having this conversation. Like, anyway.
Hi, Mom. Yeah. And then Winslow, yeah, speaking of Winslow, he had surgery today to, I think they said, to try and fix a joint issue in his ankle, which does not sound good.
Justice Winslow is the latest guy that I was negative about, that I ended up being justified of being negative about. Cam Reddish is probably the next guy, if he's not already there. Like, I don't know. Like, what is a guy that I've been down on? Prove me wrong. If I'm forgetting somebody, please tell me, because I'm trying to think of somebody who did. I'm not saying I'm right all the time, but bro.
The funniest example is Jeremy Grant.
Except all the worries that we had, now all of a sudden all these fans
that's
are
what
worried.
I'm saying. Like, we were like ready to admit we were wrong on him.
And I never said he was trash, you know.
Yeah, right.
It was more so like, he doesn't want to come here, and then he's a free agent, so you're probably going to lose him, and it's going to take more than it took. Like, that was all context dependent. But yeah, I mean, now people are worried about paying him. And he didn't solve our defense issues, like we said. Because he's not somebody who can get through screens and guard on the point of attack because of it. I told you guys before the season. Yep. Mike, I didn't necessarily say I have those two over Dame. I said I understand if you would. have those two over Dame.
Let's just move on.
But let's just move on.
Come on, guys.
Please.
There's no reason to get that worked up in chat.
Yep. Anyway, no more Dame talk. The next time I see the word Dame, I'm putting somebody in timeout. All right? The stream's going to end soon. Anything else you want to talk about?
Well,
actually, thank you, Murray. I forgot to answer one of your questions I meant to answer earlier. Sorry about that, but thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.
Thank you, Murray. Have a good one.
I don't know what it is in Australia right now.
The Jeremy Grant thing, just I heard some people asking in chat earlier. Whether I want to re-sign him or not is irrelevant. We have to re-sign him. We have to.
Yep.
We have to pay him. We have to pay him whatever it takes, because if you lose him for nothing, there's no way to replace it. So I figured it out. If we let every single free agent we have walk, so that's Grant, Thybulle, Reddish. We cut, obviously Arcidiacono, Winslow. We let, if we let Knox go, we let Trenton go, and cut Jabari Walker and his $400,000 partial guaranteed. It leaves us with 6 players on our roster, and $20.5 million in cap space.
Yeah, I mean, it makes no sense.
So let's just say we found the perfect player to sign for that $20.5 million. I don't know who that would be. Just maybe chat can come up with someone. So we'd have $20.5 million, okay? And then we sign that player. Let's just say we strike it big in free agency and sign a really good player for that $20.5 million. That would mean we only have, okay, let's just say Cam Johnson. We signed Cam Johnson to a $20.5 million contract. Brooklyn doesn't match. We get Cam Johnson, right?
Yeah.
So that means we have Dame, Ant, Sharpe, Cam Johnson, Nurk, Keon, and I'm missing one person. Who am I missing?
Trenton?
No, we had to cut Trenton to get the $20 million.
It doesn't even matter who we're missing. Like, what
oh, Nas. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have Nas. Okay. So we're basically just replacing Cam Johnson with Grant. Okay. And then
we're replacing Grant with Cam Johnson.
Yeah, replacing Grant with Cam Johnson. And then we still have at least 7 roster spots to fill. No more cap space. We have like a room exception, which I think will be about $4.5 million or something for one player. And then we'd have minimum contracts. So yeah, we'd have, okay. That's if we don't have first round picks. So if we keep our picks, we have like $15 million in cap space, because those count against your cap as well. So this is also goodbye to the first round picks. All good says the TPEs. Incorrect. The TPEs have to be waived in order to use the cap space. Yep. So you also waive your TPEs, had to get rid of all your draft picks. You can maybe keep your second round pick or maybe trade your late first back into the second round and go get like multiple second round picks to add to that roster, right? So that's the team you would get if you let Grant walk. And I mean, maybe you let Grant walk and sign Reddish and Thybulle. Is that really that much better? So no, like if we do not sign Grant, it is an absolute disaster. And not only that, we failed to trade him or get any value for him at the deadline. If we were going to let him walk, we should have traded him. And then, I just don't know how we get better in that scenario. Yep. I don't know.
Basically, just trust Eric when he says we have to resign Jeremy Grant. Okay, because yeah.
So yeah, I could say, if we pay him $30 million, it's stupid, but it's more stupid to let him go for nothing and have that crap of a time to try and do that.
Yep. There's a comment earlier on a completely different subject. I lost it.
Andy Marchant, we would not have an MLE or trade exceptions if we went that route. So
anyway, dang, I lost the comment.
Oh, well. SXKJX, you can take Cam Johnson over Grant, but are you taking Cam Johnson over Grant, 2 first-round picks, a trade exception, an MLE, Thybulle, Jabari Walker, Trendon Watford, all of that? All of that?
Anyway, I have to go. I have a meeting. But yeah, cap space makes no sense. Yeah, we'll have videos breaking down like different scenarios and showing the numbers and showing stuff this offseason. But yeah, cap space has never made. I mean, here's the thing. Even if you had a plan where it's like, oh, we could go get this player with this cap space, this good player with this cap space, so that's what we should do. Guess what? Counting on getting a good player with cap space via free agency in Portland hasn't really ever panned out. We get Evan Turner on $18 million a year, and Festus Ezeli on $7 million a year because we struck out on Chandler Parsons for $25 million a year. Okay, that's how free agency goes for us. So cap space has never really been a problem or never really been a viable option for this team in terms of roster building. It's a small market. It's Portland, and even if it was a viable way to go get, say, Cam Johnson, the team's still worse after that, in a worse spot because of that. So cap space makes no sense. If anybody pitches you on cap space this offseason, I mean, you can try and explain to them what everything Eric just said. You know, you can try and maybe record Eric, clip that segment, and play it for them when they start talking about cap space. But, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. So we have to resign Jeremy Grant. Can't lose that asset for nothing, even if we have to overpay for him. And I'm just operating like he's back next year on a $30 million-ish a year contract.
Yep. We're no longer paying Festus still, but yes, we are still paying Andrew Nicholson. And thanks to the moves last summer, we still now have dead money for Eric Bledsoe and Didi Luzada for some reason.
Yay. So anyway, we'll be live again. When's our next game?
Our next game is Friday night.
Okay, what's the rest of our schedule looking like? I wish it wasn't messed up in...
It's Friday, Sunday, and then I know we play the following Saturday, Sunday.
Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So every other day till the end of the season. Do you want to do Blazers Uprise live Tuesdays, Fridays the rest of the season? Because just the way the schedule pans out, and tomorrow would be when we normally do it, but I am trying to make sure I get these graphics up and running for people on opening day.
I don't know if I can do Friday this week.
And there's only 2 games tomorrow.
On that short of notice.
I mean, I could always solo it because tomorrow's going to be stressful, and there's only 2 games. So, and then the following Monday, it's national championship, so there's no games.
Yeah.
So
I'm definitely down to do it next week. There are 5 games on next Thursday, I think, including the Blazers.
I just know the Friday after next has a bunch. I don't know. I mean, you already won, but I don't know. How do you want to do it? We'll figure it out.
I mean, if you can't do it tomorrow, it's fine.
Yeah, it's just
try to make Friday work
with 2 games, and what are we going to talk about? Everything we talked about tonight, you know?
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
We'll
People
talk about
just
it.
Expect to see us on Monday and Thursday afternoons.
Yeah, I know, but if we say it's Friday, well, yeah, we'll let you guys know in the Discord, on Twitter, what we plan on doing. Just stay tuned with that. And yeah, with that being said, that's a wrap for this episode of the Blazers Uprise postgame show presented by BetOnline. Use the promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus. We'll catch you sometime. Who knows? We'll figure it out. Until then, hopefully you have a good rest of your night. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.